The vast majority of white-collar workers in this country are facing the challenges of working at home, often for the first time. These challenges include the distractions of family, housework, lack of contact with colleagues, confinement to home, lack of social interaction, loneliness, and others. Not only do we need to maintain our productivity when we're working from home, but also our physical, mental, social, and relationship health as well. And we need to consciously and proactively nurture these elements because they support and reinforce each other. My name is Andrew McGregor, and my wife Barbara and I have spent the last decade or more either working from home or following a digital nomadic lifestyle, working from wherever we could connect our laptops to the internet, from wherever we happen to be in the world. And over the years, we've learned a few tips that we find useful and that we hope that you do too. And so here are my few top 10 tips to keep me sane and productive during the lockdown, and I hope that possibly some of these will resonate with you. Perhaps you'd like to pause for a moment and grab a pen and paper so that you could make a note of some of the few specific references and tools that I'll be sharing with you. So, number one tip is to listen to the experts. This is a novel coronavirus, which means it's new. Scientists from around the world are collaborating as never before to understand it. And so new information is becoming available almost daily. And unless you are properly informed, you will not be able to respond in a reasoned, measured fashion. But please use your sources carefully. Coronavirus myths seem to be spreading as quickly as the disease itself, and they're being fueled by social media. Please understand that the scientists that are documenting their findings are not on social media. They are documenting their findings in peer-reviewed paper. And so you will not find the real experts spreading information on WhatsApp and Facebook. Do not believe, don't even read, and certainly don't spread anything about COVID-19 on social media unless you have fact-checked it yourself. I promise you that drinking garlic tea will only make your breath bad. It will not stave off the disease. You can't flush it out of your mouth by drinking water. You can't diagnose yourself by holding your breath for 10 seconds and see if you cough. And please don't try sticking a hairdryer up your nose. It's not going to work. Purveyors of sensationalist misinformation are actually peddling fear. And fear causes the amygdala, that little gland in the brain, to produce chemicals such as cortisol and adrenaline that go straight to the receptors in our organs, which cause the immune capability of those organs to be impaired. So in fact, misinformation can cause your susceptibility to infection to increase by compromising your immune system. And it's not as if we're struggling in a vacuum of reliable information. There are plenty of reliable sources, too many in fact. I have signed up for a daily brief from the New York Times, which have taken down their paywall. That brief gives me a global view of what's happening in 2, 3, 4 minutes at the most, with links that I can follow if I want to go deeper on a particular topic. There are other reputable publications providing similar services as well. For fact-checking, use the World Health Organization. Their website is who.int, and you can also go to the CDC website, cdc.gov. I get a South African perspective from SA Coronavirus, one word, sacoronavirus.co.za. More than this, I don't think we need. So that's tip number one, is listen to the experts. Do not get sidetracked by social media. Tip number two, I was chatting to a friend just yesterday who's really grateful that she can work from home. She's well aware of the many, many South Africans who don't have that opportunity. And yet she's not getting things done. She's just drifting, spending too much time on Facebook and other distractions. By contrast, I read a really interesting article by astronaut Scott Kelly, who spent a year on the International Space Station. So you think you're in lockdown. His number one piece of advice for dealing with lockdown is to structure your day. Your schedule is not, we're not talking about a minute-to-minute schedule, but building a routine that will help you stay productive and healthy by getting the important things done. And so the remainder of this list is what I consider to be important. So tip number 2 is to structure your day. So as we go through the remainder of the list up to from 3 to 10, see how many of the following you can and want to incorporate into your day. The last one is by far, in my opinion, the most important, but let's chat about the others. So tip number 3, I've got a question for you. And the question is, how much sleep do you need tonight? And the answer is, for all of us, the same. It depends on how well you want your brain to work tomorrow. You've heard it before, and here it is again. In order to perform at peak performance, us humans need to spend a third of our lives asleep. A small minority may get by on 7, some need 9, but the vast majority are at our best with 8 hours per night. If you would like to understand the science of sleep and why we sleep and so on, you might want to Google Dr. Matthew Walker. He has presented TED Talks, had deep dive interviews on various podcasts, and you can download his book, Why We Sleep. It's available as a Kindle from Amazon and probably in other formats as well. I've also been asked this question. Sure, I've heard about this, and I make a point of being in bed for 8 hours, but I simply can't sleep. Well, hang around for tip number 5. We'll talk about insomnia then. So get your 8 hours of sleep is my tip number 2. In a similar vein, tip number 3 refers to a book by John Ratey, R-A-T-E-Y, who wrote a book I found absolutely fascinating called Spark, The Revolutionary New Science of Exercise in the Brain, also available as a Kindle with a abridged version on PDF. What he's saying is that while any kind of exercise is beneficial, the research tells us that for optimum mental performance, we should aim for 6 hours per week of exercise with an elevated heart rate. But we're on lockdown. What do? The regulations prevent us from running, cycling, or going to the gym. So instead of all that, we need a structured exercise routine that pushes up our heart rate that we can do without leaving home. So this is where apps such as Sworkit, that's S-W-O-R-K-I-T, and Home Workout can give you a balanced, challenging workout at home with no need for equipment. If you want to challenge yourself to do yoga, I'm told the Down Dog is a great app for that. But whatever you choose, make sure that your cardiovascular system is working every day, even if you have to put on some loud music and dance for an hour. So tip number 3 is make sure that you are exercising on a daily basis. So how many of your friends are complaining about putting on weight during the lockdown? How many of us are eating convenience foods with low nutritional value? We need to understand that the parasympathetic nervous system is not your friend here, because that's the one that tells you to eat to make yourself better. Yes, tip number 4 is about nutrition. What we put into our mouths, together with exercise and sleep, has a direct impact on our immune system. And so this would be a good time during the lockdown to challenge yourself to create meals that are both delicious and healthy. And I promise you, you will not do better than making friends with Sylvia Fontaine. Her website is feastingathome.com. All one word, feastingathome.com. This is seriously where healthy meets delicious. And she writes beautifully as well. Go and take a look. It might inspire you. Tip number 5. This lockdown is not easy. It's hurting our finances badly. It's destroyed our routine. It's hard. It's unfair. It's scary. And it's absolutely normal for all of this to be eating away at our well-being. It feels hopeless, and we're helpless to do anything about it. So when we're under this stress, our natural survival instinct kicks in. We touched on this earlier. Deep in our brains is the amygdala, which has been called the fear center of the brain. When we're in danger, The amygdala triggers our fight, flight, freeze response. And it does that by diverting blood away from our prefrontal cortex and pumping it down into the body, charged with a cocktail of chemicals such as adrenaline and cortisol. That was very useful for us in days gone by when there was a predator who was eyeing us out as this evening's dinner. But what we need to do is we need to take control of our brain back from the amygdala and consciously and deliberately activate our thinking, reasoning, problem-solving executive function in our prefrontal cortex. And so how do we do that? It's called mindfulness. I strongly recommend another couple of apps. The first one is Headspace, to get going with managing the state of our mind. And Headspace has got mindfulness and sleep meditations. From there, you might want to move on to the app that I use every day. It's called Waking Up with Sam Harris, Waking Up. His daily meditations are designed for people with no long-term experience and expertise in meditation, just 8 to 10 minutes each. Either or both of those apps are well worth a try. Meditation skills that you learn during this lockdown can be applied throughout the day and night. By being more conscious of your feelings throughout the day, you can spot negative feelings of frustration, anger, sadness as they are building up, as you're about to take it out on somebody else, as that amygdala is starting to take charge. And use the skills that you've learned with your meditation apps to quieten the mind and control those feelings. We touched on insomnia in tip number 3. What keeps us awake at night is the busyness of our brain, thinking about our work, our children, our marriage, our health, our finances, all the things that seem insurmountable at 3 a.m. Meditation skills are crucial to quietening the mind. So step number 5, try meditation with those apps. Step number 6. We are social beings. We need to maintain our social cohesiveness during this time for our social, mental, and physical health. We need social interaction all the time. And so we need to take time to connect with our friends, extended family, and colleagues. Try platforms, you will have used them, Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, there are many of them. So isolation damages mental and physical health, and particularly it attacks our immune system. Think about people, for example, who live alone. Think also about people who are imprisoned. And the worst additional punishment that our prison system can come out of is to put people into solitary confinement. People would much rather be with other convicts than with themselves and their brains. So people who live alone face a similar confinement. They are in this lockdown, they are in solitary confinement effectively. So check in with friends and family frequently, particularly those who live alone. So that's step number 6. And in a similar vein, tip 7 is reach out to your broader community. One of the things that Scott Kelly, the astronaut, mentioned in his article is that when you view the Earth from space, you don't see any national boundaries. You don't see any cultures. You don't see, all you see is one connected planet. We're all connected. And we're all facing this together, whether you're the poorest of the poor or the Prime Minister of Great Britain. It is affecting every one of us. This thing knows no difference. And so we're in this together. We need to be volunteering, reach out to people, feel gratitude, do random acts of kindness. Helping others actually equals helping yourself. As you help others, not only do their brains produce dopamine and serotonin, the chemicals that reflect well-being, but yours does too. And so every time you are kind to somebody, every time you reach out to somebody, you are getting a dopamine and serotonin kick, and so are they. And as an aside, anybody witnessing this act of kindness on your part will experience the same reaction. So that's step number 7. Step number 8, we are in lockdown, but that doesn't mean that we can't go outside, even if it's onto our 13th floor boundary. Experience nature as best you can. Get 30 minutes of sunshine every day. That will give you a nice kick of serotonin as well. Use your senses. One of the things that Kelly also mentioned in that article is that he missed desperately the color green. There was no green in a space on the inside of a space station. And so we can see green, grass, trees, nice blue sky. So use all of our senses. We can hear the rustling of the leaves. We can hear the birds, the dogs barking in the background. Maybe combine your outside experience with your meditation and use all your senses to experience nature as best you can. So that's tip 8. Tip 9 is slightly different to all of the others, and that is because working from home requires screen time. Likewise, all of my recommendations above require engaging with technology. So what you need to do is get away from your tech for an hour or so every day. Engage with a real book or something that requires your hands. A friend of ours is making fabric masks as a community project. Family friends of ours are cooking together as a family, a new recipe every day, a bonding, fun project for the whole family. You may have a skill or a hobby or an instrument that can get you out of your study and away from your screen. If nothing else comes to mind, start a handwritten and private diary where you can record your observations and feelings about what you're going through and how you feel about it. NASA's research into the effects of long-term isolation put keeping a diary one of the most effective tools. My lockdown project is building a balsa wood project, which is doing me a lot of good. It's a World War I aircraft, and it is slow, painstaking work, which is good for me. And finally, to tip 10, where I promise you that this for me is the most important. Nurture your close relationships. We're talking not about your acquaintances, but your spouse and your children, particularly if the nuclear family is together in lockdown. We've said it is a stressful environment that does not bring out the best of our attributes. I read an article about the soaring divorce rates in Hubei province in China since the lockdown. This could be, but need not be you. So every day, express your love and gratitude to your partner. Involve everyone in an activity every day. Make time to listen how everybody's feeling, how they're doing. Encourage them to express their feelings and acknowledge them. Make them know that you understand how they're feeling. Be vulnerable and express your feelings to them. You might want to make chores a joint effort where everybody works together on the cleaning and the laundry. What about engaging everybody in games, cards, or a board game? Use this time to connect and nurture the relationships that mean the most to you. So those are our top 10 tips. And you might still find that you're in a crisis. Despite everything that you try, you're down. Be aware of your mental state and your emotions. Recognize when you're down. Anxiety and depression will spike from time to time. Certainly, we've got plenty to be anxious and depressed about. And when it does hit you, when life seems pointless, there's no reason to get out of bed or to clean up or to make a meal, or you're anxious, you've got elevated heart rate, shallow breathing, perhaps a panic attack, reach out for help. If you don't have a friend that you would trust, if you don't have easy access to a medical practitioner, you may want to make a note of SADAG, sadag.org.za, the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. They're there 24/7 to take your call. You'll find them at sadag.org.za. Other than that, be well, stay home, be kind. Thanks for watching.